Alright, we're back. Alright, I'm going through his sockets over here, just sockets you could use for a lot of things besides what they're supposed to be used for. So, first one I found was a metric socket here. Which ones are metric? These ones. So this fit in there nice and snug around the bearing. The problem is it gets real, you gotta make sure it doesn't hit on the ball. So this one cleared. The first socket I grabbed was this one. You had it on the metric side. It went right on there, it's perfect, no clearance. But the problem is it's rubbing on the ball right here on the inside of the 12 point here. So that could make a mark in there, which is probably wouldn't matter because it doesn't really rotate side to side on the swing arm, so it doesn't really matter. If it was on a ball Heim joint, it would, because it self-articulates over, it'd be a rubbing problem. So in the real world, it's probably, this is a good one to use because it's kind of self-centering. But I might be slightly hitting on the plastic media too, because there's no clearance. So I don't really want to be doing that either. So that was an 1 and 1/8 inch socket. These are Craftsman. They're all different, see. Brand. If we go up to the 1 1/4 inch, we have lots of clearance, not hitting, and this fits inside the swing arm really easily. If you go to metric sockets, this one has those clearance on it real nice. This is a 30 millimeter, I think I read. Yep, this is a 30 millimeter. So this would work real nice. It doesn't hit. It's got clearance. A lot of clearance on the OD, ID, everything. So that's a pretty good one to use. If you have a 32 millimeter socket, it's better, but it's closer to the OD, so it fits in the swing arm a little bit tighter. So now let's see what we got. So we can use a 30 millimeter for sure. Now we go over here and look at our swing arm and see if these are going to hit on anything that's going to be a problem. See, that goes all the way down to the snap ring, so that would not be a problem. That one appears to go just as deep. Just a little clearance, not much. Same thing, these are probably the same OD. So either one of these would work for the OD. Which is nice on this. It's close. It doesn't get off center too bad, so you don't have to ever worry about hitting the bearing. You don't really want to be hitting this bearing on the inside. It can damage things. So either one of these would work, either 1 1/4 inch or the 32 millimeter is a good option. If you don't have that, 30 is your next one. 1 1/8 no good. Unless you go in there and knock out the inside of the 12 point with a grinder. Just lightly, so you got clearance on the ball, then you could use a 1 1/8 inch. So whatever you got laying around. There are options. You don't need to spend $500 for gems to buy some special installation tool kit. This kit's pretty good though, whatever it is. I haven't seen this before. It's a pretty nice kit. Got a very large selection of ODs, which makes it really nice. But in this case, it doesn't work for what we need. For that purpose anyway, but we will be using it for a different purpose. We need to beat on the socket with something like that, so we will be using it for that. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and pull this little one off because we don't need it anymore. We'll put the big one on there, like that. This fits inside of the 1/2 inch, which is neat. So now we got a nice good solid tool, top to bottom, to beat on with. Pretty good. And either one of these will work. So I like beating on metric tools, not American tools, because American tools are good. So we're going to beat up the metric tools because we don't care about metric tools. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and put a little lube down in there. A little bit of lube on the OD also. Just give it a little bit of slipperiness. Drop her in the hole. Now let me see, is there any reason not to put this in now? No, you can put this in right now, which would be a lot easier to do, and it won't push the bearing out, so we'll do that right now. So that is just a matter of beating it, and boom, like that. Where's that tool we just had up? Right here. Look at that, we just had one laying right here. It's going in pretty hard. You know what I forgot to do? I forgot to put lube on the outside of those. appears to be tight, so we need some lube on that. So we're going to beat that down until it's flush. Now we could use a hydraulic press over there. If you beat on something harder than the rack, it'd be nice too. You know, we're going to use what we got laying around here. Sounds like it's all the way down. I'm going to give it a couple more whacks just to make sure. Sounds pretty hard. Okay, if you don't see a gap between the spacer and this inner ball there, you're good. We're not quite all the way to the bottom, so if it was going to move, it would have moved. So there you go, still nice and tight, so we didn't do any damage. That's a big plus. Now, when you beat this thing down, this is probably going to come out a little bit. The concussion wave does make press fits fall out. Boom, it goes in. Got our installation tool, secondary installation tool, and there must be, for every purpose on a Harley, a hammer. Appears to be going in. Hear the difference right there? That's called, it's bottomed out. Now you can keep beating on that more if you want, but it ain't gonna make no difference. Might break something though. Okay, now that bearing got really tight in there. So we have a bearing checking tool, it's called a center bolt. Now this here appears to have, when you take this off, we have a bushing, big one. Then we have a cupped spacer. So his shoulder's over there. Goes down like that, so it only goes on so far. So then you have a big lock washer and a nut. So this gives you some adjustability for side to side, but still be tight. That's what that's all about. So we're going to put this in there, make sure that fits. Extremely loose in the bushing, that's typical Harley fitment garbage. There we go. That is definitely snug. So very tight. What's very bad is, that's called swing arm clearance. You replace the bushing because they got a little clearance, and look how bad the bolt is. That's stupid. See, Harley doesn't want to make anything good because then it'll be harder to put together. So they got probably 15 thou clearance on there, 10 thou something. Quite a bit. Should be a lot tighter in my opinion, but the problem when you make it tighter is it'll rust quicker, stick to your bolt, and be a problem down the road. Now when you got a distance this far apart, 10 thou isn't really that much, so that's how they get away with that. But not precision. It's hardly precision. Give or take an acre. Okay. So that one there looks good. It's installed all the way in. We heard it hit the stop. I know what I did problem. Oh no, it goes on the outside. That's right. Okay, so that's all the way in there. We're assuming the spacer did not move. Now we have no way of beating it back in very well because this is bigger than our hole size. So if you had a smaller diameter, if this, what do you want to call this, punch is smaller diameter, it would fit through the inside of this. Then you can put space and stuff down here and beat it in more and make sure it's good. The problem is when you beat on this, you're beating on the bearing that you don't want to be beating on. And then it also can slide it out of the swing arm, which makes it worse. So it's best to keep it all one piece and not beat on it. But if it moves inside the bushing, you're going to have to do something. So you kind of need to hit it on both ends at once. So that means you'd have to support it in here on something, probably another socket on the other side like that. And then you come from this side and beat on this, that way all the force is being applied to the center part and not the outside part. Then after you got that back in, like we just do now, then you flip it over and beat it out the other way to shove that in, and hopefully that would stay put. It's kind of a vicious circle going back and forth. But this one appears tight enough. We didn't have that problem. Okay, now we're going to do the same thing again. except this time we're going to lubricate it a little bit on the inside, just for the hell of it. And go ahead and beat the piss out of it. Sounds like it's all the way down. Yep, sounds good. You can hear the hit difference, so you can see how it's all the way in. That's how you want it. Now we do the outside. It'd be a good time to repaint the swing arm. Yeah, we're not doing that. Don't put it in that way. It goes in that way. Get our installation tool there. There's your different noise. She's in. Feels about the same distance, good. And we'll put this in there and make sure it moves around a little bit. Initially it's going to be pretty hard to break it free. Then once it's freed up it's a little easier, but still pretty tight. Okay, it's pretty snug. You want to get it lined up on the other side so it's easier to put together. There we go. We just lined up the other bushing. Get a couple wraps out here, it should center. Comes out nice and easy. You don't have to fight it. Fighting is a pain in the butt, so try to avoid that. Okay, this is our clean side, which is not the side this is on. No, this is the dirty side. We just got stuff on it, you can't tell. Like I said, this would be a good time to paint this stuff and clean it all up. We're going to skip that process. Boom, goes in. Clip spacer, lock washer, and a nut. And they got blue Loctite residue on the thread, so you know the blue Loctite is that. Which we already know we don't have, so we're going to use our green Loctite. Alright, so there you go. That's all assembled correctly. And it slips in there nice and good. So that should be able to put that together pretty easily, I would think. And then these things here, my guess is these go on the somewhere. I don't know which side they go on. I don't know if they go against the big part or they go against the small part. If I had to guess, I'd say it goes on the. This goes in first, like this. Then we're going to have the cup spacer. Yes, see there's the way you got a cup washer. That way this for sure is being pinched like it's supposed to be. Now if you put this on backwards and you put it in like this and tighten it up, then we'll go ahead and do that. You'll see that the bushing will be loose. Okay, the nut's tight now, but see, look how loose the bushing is. Because now you got clearance on the backside because the cup washer is not shoving it all the way in. Now we don't have both sides in here, so we don't have a true relationship to where this is going to sit. But take my word for it, it will be loose. Even though the nut's tight, it's loose. And that's because you put it together wrong. And that could probably cause some issues with your handling. Like I said, that cup there is for a reason. Next when you put it in backwards, it hits right there, and it doesn't tighten up the washer. You know, this washer is not as thick as your distance. When you flip it around like that, see how it goes in further? Now it will pinch the washer tight. that's in your mount here. Boom. So that's why it's made like that. So it's very important that you do that correctly. So anyway, that's how that works. So that's how you install it. And make it simple. You can see the blue residue Loctite on there. Probably some kind of a paste thing or a printed on style Loctite that they put on in the factory. And we'll do something else. Now you probably should lube this up pretty good with grease so that it doesn't rust as easily. They have a coating on here on our zinc, but it's already, you can see it's all brown. That's because it's rusty. So this is inside the transmission case, which we didn't check to see if it fit in there nicely. That would be down there. I guess we probably should do that right now. As long as you do this stuff right now, if you have a problem then later, and you got to beat on with a big ass hammer to make it do what you need to do. So this should be a nice precision fit in here, I'm sure. Yeah, it's got the same precision fit as everything else. So this will all translate into clearance in your powertrain. See that clearance? That's a lot of movement when you get way out here on the wheel. You have that clearance in there. That's a lot of movement. Yeah, that's because see, we're not this wide, we're only this wide, so now it translates to more clearance. Yeah, I would definitely run a lot tighter fit than that, but you know, and if you made this out of something different material, like a stainless that wouldn't corrode, but it had to be a high-end stainless, which would cost a ton of money. We know Harley, it's nothing to spend the money. They are into charging money, but not spending money. So then you could have a nice tight fit and not corrode, but yeah, they don't want that to happen. So, all right, there's our swing arm rebuild. Now how am I gonna get that bike up on the rack so I put it together? That I don't know how to do. That'll probably happen later tonight when Luke comes back. He's working right now. All right, there you go.